Hi everybody, today we're going to go on YouTube. So, let's get on YouTube. If nobody likes girls, you don't have to watch this. Of course I'm a girl. It's called No Friends.
People say I try to.
For boys, you hate girls, I don't really care. Wonder what this is. I think it's all about love and stuff. I think.
Here we go! Hey, little girl! Get on out and do your stuff. Woo! Did you hear what I say? Hey!
You guys wonder about passwords? Okay.
Natalie Red was a sweet and calm girl. She had hazel eyes with some green highlights. Her long, dark brown hair contrasted with her pale skin. She loved to paint, and when she ran out of sheets, she used the walls as a canvas. Her parents didn't like that. They often argued and punished her by locking her in the room. Plus, her older brother, Lucas, would mess with her all the time and make her life impossible at home. Natalie soon began to feel lonely and sad. As she grew older, she became a dark person, and her drawings became terrifying and bloody. One day in high school, she fell asleep while working on an English assignment, and the teacher called her attention. The teacher demanded that she gave her what she had done, but on top of Natalie's desk, there were only drawings of sinister characters and gruesome scenes. "Time's up, Miss Ouellette." That phrase caught her attention. It seemed that time was always against her, and that bothered her. After class, she met Chris, her boyfriend. He had blonde hair and brown eyes. Natalie was glad to see him, but he was very serious. When she moved to kiss him, Chris turned his face away and said he wanted to break up with her. "It's better if we give each other some time and space apart." Again with the time, said Natalie. "Why? What happened?" "It's your way of thinking, your drawings. You're always sad and you never smile." Natalie was shocked. Chris had broken her heart and she felt like her life was going from bad to worse. When she got home, she went to the bathroom to cry. On the shelf, she saw her mother's sewing kit, fumbled until she found a needle and thread and looked at herself in the mirror. "So, I never smile." She began to sew her cheeks in the form of a smile with a black thread. She felt excruciating pain, but all she did was laugh hysterically. She was in a kind of trance. Blood dripped down the drain, and suddenly her mother came into the bathroom and shouted. They went to the hospital, and Natalie explained to the doctor that her biggest problem was time. The time passed slowly, controlling society and torturing her to the end. She felt like a different person. She spent the night in the hospital. She woke up from a nightmare where a voice kept telling her that her time had run out, that her time was up. She tried to move, but she couldn't. She was handcuffed to the bed. A group of men with strange masks were with her in the room. One of them had a scalpel in his hand and told her that he would do a small surgery to keep her mind under control. She felt them giving her multiple injections of a viscous liquid that burned inside her skin. Her heart was beating intensely, and it seemed like her head was going to explode. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, everything had disappeared. Only the doctor was there, injecting her a sedative and asking her to calm down. She got rid of her ties, hit the doctor, and tied him to the bed face down. She felt that something inside her was changing, something sinister like her paintings. She moved the mechanism to pull the bed completely and split his body in half. The doctor kept screaming inconsolably as he bled from his mouth. She painted the walls using blood and laughed out loud, contemplating her art. She went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror, still holding the stitches on her face, forming the sinister smile. But now her eyes were completely green. She loved her new self. She fled the hospital and went to her house. She went into the kitchen and grabbed 2 knives. Her mother appeared, and when she saw her, she screamed in horror. She tried to run down the hall, but stumbled and fell to the ground. Natalie stabbed her several times while whispering, "Sweet dreams, Mother. Your time is up." Then she went in search of her father and her brother Lucas and murdered them, torturing them. When she finished, she went to her room. Everything was silent, and she heard the ticking of a pocket watch on her bedside table. She remained listening to the sound for what was an eternity to her. She went to the bathroom and put the clock on one of her eyes, piercing the skin and tearing the organ until the device fit perfectly at her eye. Natalie was gone. Now she was clockwork. She burned down the house with the corpses of her family inside and moved away from the flames, plunging into the depths of the forest. Some say she's still alive, determined to make your time end and avoid the agony of waiting. The only way to know if she's there watching you is to sleep near the window. In the dark of the night, you will be able to differentiate the chilling ticking sound, and you will see the green flash of her eye. If she's there, you'll know your time is up. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more, welcome to a new Draw My Life video. Hey there, TikTokers, and welcome to a new Scary Tuesday. Today, we have a creepypasta you've asked for a lot, though there is not much info about it. The story of Nurse Anne, which we have adapted for you. Anne was a shy 24-year-old girl. She didn't have many friends, as her job took up most of her time. She was a nurse at an important hospital, and she loved feeling useful by helping others. She worked along with Dr. Sebastian, a young doctor very respected among his colleagues. Even though he was a friendly person, he always seemed cold and distant. Some thought his reserved personality was completely normal, as he was a forensic doctor and he spent most of his time surrounded by corpses. His blonde hair and blue eyes had broken many hearts. Anne was no exception, and she soon fell in love with him. She never shared her feelings with him. She thought he would never show interest in her. However, one day, the doctor declared his love to her, and they both started a relationship soon after. He gave her lots of presents and paid a lot of attention to her. She couldn't be happier. One day, he invited her over to his house, and after a romantic dinner, he proposed to her. "I love you. I want to be with you forever," he said, and she felt happier than she had ever been. After a while, the doctor made a sign with his hand and said, "Come, I have another surprise for you. Come to the basement." Even though she felt excited, something inside her was on alert. The tone in his voice had changed, and the atmosphere had suddenly turned cold. She got up and followed him. He opened the door of the basement, and she suddenly felt a sickening smell. While she was going downstairs, he said, "Dear Anne, I finally found the answer. From now on, we will always be together." His strange words scared her even more. When they were all the way down, the doctor turned on the lights. The young girl could see, totally horrified, several dismembered corpses piled in a corner. She couldn't tell how many there were, but they were all missing some parts. Anne panicked. The shocking image clouded her sight, and she couldn't articulate a single word. The doctor was beside her, waiting anxiously for an answer. Her first impulse was turning around and running away, but he grabbed her and hit her on the head, leaving her dazed on the floor. She felt him holding her in his arms and putting her on an old and noisy stretcher next to a pile of corpses. He tied her hands and feet. She suddenly felt the pressure of a needle on her arm, and the effect of whatever he had injected her was instant. Her head started spinning, and she couldn't feel her body anymore. She saw the doctor grabbing a huge knife from a drawer. She opened her eyes, panicking, but she couldn't even scream. He got close to her and put the blade on her chest. "Don't worry, you will feel no pain." With a fast move, the doctor raised the knife and stabbed it into her heart with all his strength. And the last thing Anne saw before she passed out was a huge puddle of blood coming from her chest. When the young girl woke up, it took her a few minutes to remember what had happened. She was still laying on the stretcher, though she wasn't tied anymore. She could feel her body again, but that body didn't feel familiar anymore. She stood up, and she noticed she was taller now. She had a strange feeling on her face, and when she touched it, she realized there was an eye patch on her right eye now. She looked at her legs, then at her arms. She saw many parts stitched to one another, skin that didn't belong to her. Though the pile of corpses wasn't there anymore, she didn't take long to realize her new body was formed by pieces from dead people. She suddenly heard a noise, and she saw the door of the basement opening. She knew it was him. Her body clenched, and her face was burning with rage. He got closer to her and looked at her with the face of a lunatic. "My dear Anne, you look so beautiful. I can only admire my best piece. Now you have to do the same to me, and our love will be forever." But she wasn't the same girl anymore. She felt a strange feeling of euphoria. She felt powerful. Suddenly, she felt sorry for that insignificant being, and the simple idea of spending the rest of her existence with him seemed disgusting to her. The doctor's smile vanished when he observed his loved one. Before he could say anything, she jumped on him, and with the power of her new supernatural body, she choked him. He tried to resist, but all his efforts were in vain. She was a lot stronger. When she saw him dead, she decided to give him a taste of his own medicine. She searched among the tools in the basement until a chainsaw caught her attention. She turned it on and used it to cut the doctor's body into pieces, smiling with each new mutilation. She left the basement and went to the kitchen. She took a look at the clock and saw the day was about to break. She took a shower to clean the blood out of her body and then searched the doctor's drawer. She put on a black uniform. She covered the scars on her arms with long gloves, and she covered her right eye with her hair. Finally, she was ready to start a new day at work. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it.
Don't forget to